Hello YouTube, this is BalorMage again. This one's going to be a pretty short video. We've got a bunch of FAQs to go through, but most of them have been made into a Google Doc, so that'll be linked below. There's one or two things that I need to show you because it's a lot easier to show. We'll do those first. You can check the document out and go through it. For everything else, we will have a quick skim over the document here in the video, but I'm going to suggest most of it looking through the document. I also have to say a really big thank you to the people who worked on this document. That was not me. It was almost exclusively some people from chat. I'm not going to call them out because I don't know if they want to be called out or not, but this has got most of the information already in the document for me. So amazing stuff. All right. Let's jump into the document and go through some of the most asked questions that we've had. All right. You can see we've got a little path of building open. That's for showing you some of the things. Right. So, obviously, is the build fine? Everyone was asking that. If you've made it to this video, you already know it's fine. Core items for changing over into poison. The minimum amount you need to change over to poison is literally just a 7 in sleep and a decent darkness enthralled with a few abyss jewels. That's it. Right now, as of this video, pricing changing to poison can be done on less than 2 divines, and a whole bunch of people have done it. We've got, why is the path of building 7 linked? Surprisingly, one of my most common questions. Melee splash and multi-strike are gem swaps. You do not run both at once. There is no version of investment where you like drop a poison gem and you can put in both or anything like that. There is no point at which we run both multi-strike and melee splash, even at any level of investment. It just doesn't happen. So we only swap to multi-strike for like big bosses, pinnacle fights, big invitations, things like that, like feared invites and forgotten invites and all of those. We change it to multi-strike for them. We use melee splash for literally everything else. Only big bosses we're going to multi-strike for. Now, this is the big one. These are the big 2, actually. How do I check my poison chance? And my DPS looks shit. Surely this can't be right. So, we do have some instructions here, which you can look through, but I'm going to go through real quick how to look at your own path of building. So, if you've inputted your own path of building here, your damage numbers will obviously be lower. This is the absolute min-max juiced version that I'm looking at. That's this path of building. So, your damage numbers will be lower because this is ridiculous and you shouldn't invest this much. This is way over the top. But you can see even in this way over the top, it says total DPS including poison, and it only says 2 mil. And that's about what it'll say in this level of gear when you just import the character. So how do we get that to look right? And what people have been doing is they've been coming over here and clicking include, and they're like, oh no, my DPS is so low. The most common numbers I keep hearing are like 1 to 300. And so those aren't good. So there's a few things that we need to do to get our actual damage numbers to say what their damage numbers are. The first is, and most important, is how many SRS can you have out? If you have a divergent gem, that's 22. If you have a regular gem, it's 20. If you're using an ashes, it changes again. But we can do 22. So we set the count to 22 because this path of building is using a divergent. You'd set it to 20 if you were using a regular one. That already bumps the damage up a lot. We want to tick multi-strike and not melee splash when we're dealing with what the actual damage is. Now, I have Cull in here because this min-maxed version has a Kingmaker and there's no other way to get the effect of Cull, but I'm going to leave that unticked. Then we're going to go over here to config. We're going to set the boss to Guardian Pinnacle boss because that's what we always look at DPSs on every build. Important, whatever your animate Guardian has, you have to put in this custom modifier box. So you're always going to have, you can apply an additional curse because that comes from the boots. And then you're going to have either the Leer cast stats where nearby allies have increased damage and the stuff from your staff, or you're going to have the really, really large budget options, which are right here. And we put those in. So whatever your Animate Guardian gives you, you're going to put that in the custom modifier box. Then we got to go Feeding Frenzy active. And then we're going to go down here for wither stacks and set them to 15 because we are automatically withering. That is super important. And then if you're using the Carnage Chieftains as your specters, you will have to tick your minions use frenzy charges. I don't, so I don't have frenzy charges, so I don't have to pick them. We got that. And then we've got is the enemy near you, which might be relevant for some setups. Depends again on what Animate Guardian you're using, but we can leave that. We can leave that on. If it doesn't matter, it won't matter if you've clicked it. It won't do anything. If it does matter, it will be important. So all of those things set up properly. Everything's set to boss. Your skills set to whatever your maximum is, and then include full DPS. And that will give you an actual DPS number for you down the bottom here. There are some extra things that you can do. There's 2 extra things you can do. One, you can go over to your Raised Spectre gem here. And we will find it. Raised Spectre. Raised Spectre. And then you actually can manage your specters here and put those in. And those will add a little tiny bit of damage. The other thing you will have to do is put a temp chains in your gear somewhere that's level 1. So the config lets us apply an additional curse. This is given to us by the Animate Guardian. It can apply an additional curse, not us. But that's not represented in Path of Building. So we have to also put in the curse that he gives, which is a level 1 temp chains. No quality, no alt qualities, no nothing, just a level 1 temp chains. That's going to be super important. It does change your damage by quite a bit. It is 40% more poison damage. So we definitely need to include that. The next question on the list that involves Path of Building is how can I check my poison chance? And that one is also in Path of Building. Unfortunately, there is absolutely no way to see it in game. We're going to come over to the Calcs page, select your Summon Raging Spirits. We're going to select Show Minion Stats, and then we're going to see our poison chance down here. Mousing over it will tell you where all of the locations of your poison chance come from. In this particular case, because it's the min-max version, we're no longer using the chance to poison gem, but if we were, it would also be in the list. This is also where you can tell how much total increased minion damage you've got, or movement speed, attack speed, everything. All of the minion stats are here. If you do not tick show minion stats, it shows you all your own stats. So select your minion, show minion stats, and there's everything. So that should help you enough with your own path buildings. Let's keep moving on. Pantheon powers, also listed in this document. I use Brine King and Aberath for this build. I never bothered to upgrade that one for increased stun and block recovery rate. I guess ever so technically it would have helped, but I just never did it and never needed it. So there's that. There's what specters to use, which is your Pale, Sephirim, and Arena Master, and where to get them. Those are the 2 that are important. The third specter, just in case you end up getting 3, I've been liking the Wild Bristle Matron, or whatever the hell it's called. I will mention here, this is something most people won't get to, but if you do anoint Death Attunement and also get some fractured +2 to Socket and Minion Delve gloves and put them in there, you'll end up with 4 specters. And if you do end up with 4, my suggestion is actually to drop the Wild Bristol Matron and run 2 Carnage Chieftains to get all of your frenzy charges back. If you get to 4, if you just run 1 Carnage Chieftain, You don't have enough frenzy charges for it to matter. We replace SRS too often. They sometimes have one. They don't have enough uptime. You need two, or it's not worth running them. And it's not worth running a Carnage Chieftain over either of our best Spectres, our Arena Master and Pale Sephiroth. We want those. They're mandatory. So those two, Into the Wild, Bristol, whatever the hell that's called. Unless you somehow get to 4, then you can drop it and pick up 2 Carnage. How come I can't turn on all my auras is a very common one. I will mix this in with why is generosity linked to X in the weapon. So real important is that our generosity isn't actually linked to anything. The generosity is linked to the level 25 envy in the sword. That's why the generosity is there. It does not have to be linked to the sword. However, your 2 movement skills of choice must be the other 2 sockets in that and not another aura. And that's why people are having problems where 2 auras are on a blessing and they can't keep all of their auras on. And it's because they have their divine blessing in the weapon, which makes envy a divine blessing, which is not what we want. We want that permanently on and on with generosity. So that's how we do that. The other thing that's pretty common is people 3-linking their shield and putting their haste and vitality both with divine blessing. Don't do that. We want vitality on permanently. We want the haste, or in the very high budget version, the malevolence instead on the divine blessing, but you can only have 1 aura on the divine blessing. That's the important bit. 1 single aura on divine blessing, and it cannot be in the weapon. Right, Arcanist brand order. This sort of matters. There are some explanations here. The quick TLDR is that you really want Bone Offering to be triggered first, and they all trigger in an order. So Arcanist, Bone, Despair, Desecrate. That's my favorite way to do it. In reality, it wouldn't matter if you move the Bone Offering here and the Arcanist brand here. And it wouldn't matter if the Bone Offering was here and the Despair was here and the Arcanist brand was here, because Arcanist brand is the trigger, but everything else will trigger in order. So it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and skipping wherever Arcanist brand is, because that's the one that causes the trigger. So if you want better Bone Offering uptime, if your Bone Offering is not up enough and you're finding you drop lock cap and you die, that's why. You don't have Bone Offering first. That's what's causing the problem. Right, Animate Guardian gear is down here. I'm not going to go over that in this video, but it is all listed there with all the different options that are used. So that's good. My Animate Guardian died is a relatively common question. So this area is just going to go over all of that. The TLDR, as far as I'm concerned, is try and have a level 21 Animate Guardian. See if you can get a Divergent Animate Guardian. That will be just as good. If you can get a Divergent level 21, that'll be even better. The minions recover 5% of life from death mastery is going to be very important. We picked that one up right there. That's pretty important for keeping them alive. And otherwise, when you do all that, they really shouldn't die. They really shouldn't die. Right. People have been asking how to make jewels. I'm not going to go over this in the video, but there is an Abyssal Jewels section here that will go over how you can craft your own jewels and what ways to do that. So that's a pretty good document. Then we've got further upgrades. How should we upgrade stuff? So there's a lot of options here. And to be honest, it's really hard to tell people what they should upgrade next, especially in a way that will last, because prices change so much. But if you haven't changed to poison yet, absolutely do that. It's almost free. It's very, very cheap. It's under 2 divines to do the change to poison. Instantly do it. If you are not in a covenant chest after changing to poison, that is your number 1 priority. So it's get poison, change to poison and get poison cap, and then upgrade into a covenant. Even a 5-link covenant is better than any 6-link you could be running. Obviously, a 6-link covenant is better. Is the Ools worth it? The answer is not really. It is the best in slot amulet you can possibly put on, but it really depends on what its price is. I would say, roughly speaking, it's probably worth to me 10 to 15 divines worth of an upgrade. Sometimes it's as high as 40 divines on the market, and I just wouldn't bother doing it because it's quite a lot of power to get Malevolence in, but it's not worth that much. We should go for better jewels instead. Next question, people like to get ailment immunity. They keep going, hey, are we ailment immune? Can we do this and drop that to get ailment immunity? The answer is no. We're already ailment immune, just kind of not. So we're not immune to Scorch and Sap, but we don't care. Scorch gives us a little bit of minus res. That's fine. And Sap lowers our own damage. Oh no. Our Animate Guardian with Garb of the Ephemeral on, which is the best endgame chest, makes you immune to chill and freeze and crit immune. If you don't have this chest, you're still immune to freeze and half immune to chill from the Brine King. So you can just be crit, that's all. This takes care of brittle, because if we can't be crit, we don't care if we've got increased crit chance. Tempest Shield makes us shock immune. That leaves us with only Ignite, which we've already got a 60% reduced duration on because we're running Aberrath for the burning ground immunity anyway. So that's practically everything. There's no reason to invest extra to be like ailment immune. We're already like immune to almost everything. Right. As far as map mods go, map mods are on here as well. Players cannot regen and players less recovery are basically the only two I ever avoid. While in lower gear, you will notice running chance to avoid poison maps, and you will notice running reduced chance to block or reduced effective non-curse auras. This doesn't stop us from running any of these maps. You will just notice it'll be a little slower or a little sluggier. That's all. Otherwise, we can run absolutely everything. There are also links to all of the videos in the bottom of this pitch, and I'm sure there'll be a link to this video put down here somewhere as well, which will be funny. But all right, that's it. That's the FAQ video. I hope I've answered absolutely everything. I am going to be sending everybody to the FAQ video if they ask a question that's answered in here. This video was much longer than I thought it would be. All right, I will see everybody next time. Goodbye.